What can patients do, if anything? Because I know you've probably had a lot of vitiligo patients, especially over the last few years, let's say the last 3 years. Maybe before that. I know I tried to call you guys 6 years ago or so. Hey, I have vitiligo. What are you guys doing when it comes to vitiligo? What can patients do? Because sometimes you sit here, wherever you are, and you feel helpless almost, and you just continually watch your pigment go away. And it's frustrating, and you get angry, and you want to do something. What can patients do to maybe help the process along the way?
Well, one of the tools that is prominent I would say, in this country, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, is give visibility to the disease, because it's not well understood. The suffering behind this disease, the patients that go through the depigmentation process, is not well published, I would say. So giving visibility means expressing the impact of the disease on one's life. And the three words in this part of the world that go a long way is the quality of life. Mm-hmm. What is the impact of losing your pigmentation? Is it just vanity? Or does it isolate you? Or does it hinder you in normal activities? And that is something that the regulators, FDA, doesn't know too well. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't know too well. So it's a three-way process of getting a drug or therapies to market. We all have one, I would say, collective goal, which is to find therapies for diseases that are not yet covered or served. Mm-hmm. There are many painkillers on this market, but for vitiligo, there is no drug yet. So the challenge is to, in this three-way play, is to understand from the patients, and mainly from the patient associations, because they're grouped and collectively act to make their disease more visible. So that's my answer to it, is to be more vocal, to be more expressive. And let me give you a good example. EPP was a very small disease that no one had heard of. But these patients became very interested, certainly after having received the drug. And they grouped together, starting writing letters to the various regulators, starting writing letters to the academic centers. You know, everyone is forgetting us. No one is paying attention to what we've gone through childhood and life. Mm-hmm. And now there is a company that is trying to do something about it. Can we be heard? And that question, can we be heard, is very powerful. Mm. And once the disease is well recognized, the process of developing a drug will be faster and more efficient.
You know, I've gone around the world talking to people who have vitiligo, and I show what I look like. I feel like representing a lot of them, because it's not easy, you know. A lot of people go into hiding. I talked to a woman who hadn't been out of her house in 6 months, 3 months. We're talking Texas, St. Petersburg, Russia, San Diego. People all over the country aren't comfortable showing their face in public, period. So it's easy to just say, you know, be vocal. So that doesn't necessarily mean you have to show your face and tell your story. It can be simple as writing a letter, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah. And are there other things you'd recommend? Because I know that I end up speaking for a lot of these people. Are there other things that you can recommend? I say go to your congressman's next meeting or go to his next open call where you can go and actually see him face to face. But if you can't do that, that will make you say it makes a big difference.
I'm not sure that political pressure is important for a disease group. I think it's more powerful to bring to society the anecdotes that you have gone through.
Mm.
In this world, we want to know from each other, so certainly since social media exploded, we want to know how your life is impacted by the various factors. So we can reach everyone, but we don't know the stories behind the suffering. And once you start being restricted in your life, people will want to hear and will want to sympathize. And I think what is important is that decades ago, these patients, vitiligo patients, were sitting at home and were isolated. They all had one story. But it's maybe people like you who bring them together and say, you know, finally someone is expressing what we all feel. And social media has been a very powerful tool. In various diseases, you see these patients cross-border, communicating to each other, and finally finding this I would say, similar stories or recognition in each other, despite culture differences, despite language difference and other barriers. That, you know, this is what I've gone through.
Yeah.
I think that's a very powerful way of expressing the disease and give it more notoriety or visibility. Yeah.
There's definitely strength in numbers, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And awareness is what I garnish. Awareness is what you're talking about.
Sure.
More so than pressure. It's awareness
Yeah.
about letting people know and helping them to understand.